Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just got to some of the big time rivalries this upcoming weekend. Some clean old fashioned hate in Athens, Georgia. We got the Iron Bowl going on in Tuscaloosa. We got the game over there in Columbus, Ohio, and I think Ohio State's going to really put it on Michigan. I think they're very angry over the last couple of years, and I think they don't stop when they're up by 21 in this one. But let's get to a little bit of a whip around. We got a lot of games to get to because obviously we do not have a show tomorrow or Friday. Want to make sure you guys get an idea of all the games that you should be watching for this upcoming weekend, so let's roll through these real quick. And we'll start with that Memphis-Tulane game. Apologies, should have put Tulane number 17 in the country. But Tulane-Memphis is going to be a huge game and a massive one for Tulane to just kind of send a message to the committee. If they're able to win this one in a blowout, maybe that gap between them and the Big 12 becomes a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and then they might have the opening to knock the Big 12 out of the CFP. But for Memphis, they've been a little bit up and down this year. They've been able to rattle off a couple of wins recently, but in their two losses this year, they have given up 56 points to Memphis. They gave up 44 to UTSA. That defense has been a little bit hit or miss throughout the year, and definitely something to watch in this game. I think when you look at the Tulane defense, become one of the best units in the entirety of the group of five. They really get after you. They did a great job against Navy a couple of weeks ago. They only gave I think they might have shut out Navy a couple of weeks ago. So really remarkable stuff from this Tulane defense. And when you look at this Memphis offense, a little all over the place. The Memphis pass defense is 112th in the country when pass yards per game. I think Tulane wins in a blowout. I think Tulane rolls in this one. I think they put themselves in a really good position going into championship week to possibly knock out the Big 12. And I still think they're the best team in the group of five. I think they'll prove it on Saturday. And then this other team in the group of five that is currently sitting in the CFP is Boise State. They're playing an Oregon State team that is playing pretty good football right now. They beat Washington State last week and definitely got a lot going on the ground. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get this going against Boise State. Obviously, Ashton Jeanty trying to send his final Heisman message. I think that race is pretty much over. I think it's going to be Travis Hunter, but obviously would love to get one more great performance and get that one win away from getting a possible CFP bye in the first round. So a lot riding on this game. I think Oregon State, not so great at stopping the run. They are a very, very porous run defense, and I think that's about all the analysis you need for this one. If Oregon State cannot stop the run against Ashton Jeanty, he's going to take over this game. I think Boise State wins this one, but I think Oregon State can make it a little bit interesting. They played some pretty good football against Washington State, and I think they'll be able to make this one at least close. Boise State has not been good about blowing out teams recently, so I'll say Boise State wins, but I'll keep it within the 19 almost for sure. Oklahoma State, Colorado. Had to go back to the old Big 12 days to get this picture, but absolutely love the old Big 12 days, so I don't mind that by any means. Colorado is still very much alive for the Big 12 title. They need one thing to go their way. They need to get this win right here, and they need BYU to lose to Houston. Those two things happen. You are on your way to Arlington. You are still very much alive for this thing, so got to go get a win against a team that has no Big 12 wins this year. The Oklahoma State Cowboys have become one of the most disappointing teams in the entire country this year. So you should be able to beat them. Now, this Oklahoma State backend is one of the very worst in the country, giving up almost 275 passing yards per game. Colorado's going to get after them. I think they're a little bit angry about how last week finished. I think they want to finish the year or possibly send themselves to the Big 12 championship on a very high note. I'll take the Buffs to win this one, and then we'll see what happens with BYU Houston. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl is going on. It lost a little bit of luster this past weekend when Ole Miss went down, but Ole Miss is still alive in a chaos scenario for the CFP during rivalry weekend, which I wouldn't expect, but we'll see what happens in this one. But they just got to handle their business a little bit earlier in the week on Friday when they play this game, and the Ole Miss defense has stifled offense or. The Ole Miss has been stifled by defenses that can take away the big play, but Mississippi State does not necessarily do that all that well. Frankly, that defense doesn't do a lot of things all that well, if I'm being totally honest. I think Ole Miss rolls in this one, and then they just pray for chaos to happen all around them. I think it could happen, but definitely going to need some help. But Ole Miss, I think they're going to let out some frustrations in this one, get a pretty comfortable win, and then just hope that Notre Dame and Clemson and a million other teams will fall out and they could find their way back in as an at-large. Tennessee is a team that is very much in the conversation. They're the number 8 team in the country. Apologies for that, but Tennessee is very much in this conversation. They're one win away from a CFP. maybe they could host a game. I think they're probably pretty set at that 9 position as long as Notre Dame doesn't lose or Penn State doesn't lose, that type of thing. I think they're pretty firmly at that number 9 position. We'll see what happens, but I would say they're probably not going to host a game. Maybe they can, but we'll see what happens in this game. I think for this one, it's really just about the Tennessee defense. They're so stout, they're so disciplined, and against a run defense or run offense for Vanderbilt that's so good at misdirection and taking your eyes different places, I don't think they're going to be quite as susceptible as that, as everyone else was. Kind of like that Texas game where Texas was able to kind of shut down the run attack for Vanderbilt. I think Tennessee does the same thing. I think they win this one, probably a pretty close one. I think Vanderbilt still has a little bit of fight left in the tank, but I do think Tennessee gets the win. I think they find themselves into the CFP probably as a team traveling somewhere else for a game. Then you got California SMU, and this is one, SMU's kind of in an interesting spot. They're already in the ACC championship, so they don't necessarily have to win this game, but I do think a win here would almost guarantee them a spot in the CFP. An 11-1 SMU going into the ACC championship, even if they were to lose, I do think they would be in the field, probably traveling somewhere for a game like they are right now in the field, but it'll be interesting to see what this one unfolds. And if you saw the Cal game last week, it was a crazy comeback against Stanford, and the interview with Fernando Mendoza after it was absolutely incredible. It was everything that college football is about, but this is going to be a really interesting game. How much energy does California have left after that incredible game that they played against Stanford? I would argue not quite enough. I think this SMU defense continues to roll. I think they win, and I think they lock up a CFP spot on this in this game. Then we got Arizona State, Arizona. Cannot wait for this one to get underway because Arizona has been not good as of recently. They lost 6 out of the last 7. They are officially out of bowl contention. Their defense has allowed 30 points in 5 of the last 6 games. They gave up 300 rushing yards to UCF. It's been very ugly. Let's just be totally honest for Arizona. All that goes out the window for this one. That's why you see an 8.5 line on this one, not a 15.5 line for Arizona State, because this one's going to be a little bit different. They're going to get after each other, no doubt about that. Arizona State is the only team in the Big 12 that controls their own destiny. If they win this one, they are in the Big 12 championship. If they win the Big 12 championship, they are likely in the CFP, maybe getting a bye, depending on what happens with Boise State and Tulane the rest of the way. So a lot of things going on in this one. This Arizona defense is just not very good, and I think Arizona State gets the win. I do think it's going to be a little bit close, have a little bit of that rivalry feel to it, but I think Arizona State wins. They punch their ticket to Arlington, and then just wait to see who's going to join them, whether it's BYU, Colorado, Texas Tech, who knows? There's a million different teams that could possibly get into it, but I think Arizona State will get into it with a win here. Arkansas and Missouri, a very interesting game where not necessarily a ton riding on this game, but Missouri looking to finish their season on a strong note with a 9-3 year. Arkansas still looking for that last big win to finish off the season, let a little bit of that pressure around Sam Pittman subside just a little bit, and also get to a bowl game, which would be very, very nice for Arkansas. I believe they're 6-5. Maybe I'm mistaken there. So we'll see what happens in this game. I think Missouri is one of those teams that they played relatively well throughout the season. You know, they've had different moments where they've gotten beat, and I think the biggest thing in those games where they've gotten beat is the run game has really gotten to them. They've gotten gashed on the ground, and it's been just too much for this offense to come back from. I think Jaquindon Jackson can do just that. I think he has a huge day. I think Taylon Green has a huge day, and I think Arkansas gets the win here. Not necessarily the most impactful game, but definitely one that'll be really interesting, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of that rivalry feel that all the others in the SEC will. Then you got NC State, North Carolina, and this one, not quite that big of a game. On the field, not super big, but the big story is off the field. Mack Brown has been fired at UNC. He will be coaching this game, though. They will let him finish out the season. They're not going to a bowl game. They're 4-7 right now, so they're in a position where this will be the last game of the season, and it could be the last game of the career for Mack Brown, and if it is, a Hall of Fame career, no doubt about that. One of the best teams and runs in the 2005 season with Texas, a really remarkable coach, probably a more incredible person. You hear so many stories about how incredible he was to media, how incredible he was to recruits and their parents. He's a remarkable person. So all the things that he did, incredible things on the football field, he's probably done just about as many incredible things off it. An incredible person that I would love to see go out with a win. So I'm going to say give me the Tar Heels on this one. Hopefully he gets a win to go out, and I would be surprised if he found his way back into the game. I think this is probably going to be the last time we see Mack Brown, so enjoy it while you can. Very special person, very special coach, and hopefully he can get a win to end off his career. Then we got Purdue, Indiana. This is just the game that's standing in the way of a historic season for Indiana, the one that will send them to the CFP and get a lot of things really started over there in Bloomington. Going to be a huge game, and Purdue's going to get rolled. I'll be totally honest with you. This one is not going to be close. Indiana is probably pretty mad about the performance that they put together against Ohio State. Indiana's mad about the Ohio State performance. Purdue is the team that's probably going to get rolled in this game. I think Indiana gets the win, and they're likely traveling for that first round game in the CFP, but they don't care about that. They just want to be in the field and then try to prove some people wrong when they're there. And then finally, one that's going to have an interesting bearing on the Big 12 championship. If Houston were to win, then it could send Colorado in. If BYU were to win, it could send Iowa State into the field. So a lot of different things that could happen from this game. BYU could still get into the Big 12 championship if Colorado were to, or if a couple of teams were to fall like Iowa State. So a lot of things on the table for this game, and a lot of things that could just not be on the table for this game. But it would be very interesting to watch this one unfold. I think BYU is a team that has lived on the margins. It's been turnovers, third down, a lot of situational football that has gotten them to this point. Good news for them is Houston is very good at giving the football away. They are very good at missing a lot of those situational football moments and missing a lot of the things that BYU is just incredible at. So I do think BYU gets the win and maybe gets to Arlington. If that Kansas State pick goes the way that I think it's going to go, they would get to Arlington. With a win here, would be incredible to watch unfold, but definitely going to be a huge game and definitely could keep that magical season for BYU going or could bring it to a screeching halt. So it's going to be an incredible week. I cannot wait for this one. The Texas A&M game is the game I've been looking forward to more than any other game this year. Cannot wait for that one to get underway. A lot of other games that are going to be incredible to watch. Maybe those rivalry games in the Iron Bowl and the game aren't quite as big as they usually are. They're still going to be really fun. I can promise you that. So enjoy it all. A little reminder, we will not have shows tomorrow or Friday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, enjoy your family, and enjoy some football in that time. But that'll do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly need. We have great people doing great work across every single sport you could want. So anything in the world of sports you need, come on over to GSMC and we have you totally covered. Thank you once again for listening. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, enjoy all the games, and we will be back here on Monday to break down all of the craziness that I'm sure will ensue. So have a good one, and I'll see you guys on Monday.